man, to think I only have one more Samurai Warriors game to review after this. Anyways, Samurai Warriors 4 Empires is the last expansion to Samurai Warriors 4. At least till yet another rendition of the game came out called DX in the West via Steam this year. So now we have Samurai Warriors 4, 4-2, Spear of Sanada, Empires, and DX. Since DX is just the base game with all the DLC, I'll skip the original base game in favor of it. But for now, let's talk about Empires and if it's actually worth playing, especially since you can only play it on PS3, PS4, and PS Vita. Yep, Omega Force has yet to still port this game to PC. Probably going to be yet another shadow drop in the coming years. We'll start out with Officer Edit mode, where we can make all kinds of characters with a limited asset library. Yeah, this game is lacking in comparison to Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, which came out before this one, so there's no excuse for the lack of outfits and facial hair, especially which made it hard to make several YouTubers and streamers. I did make Charlie, Asmund, Muda, Max, Scott, John, Angry Joe, and more though.
自慢といえば金魚たちかな。戦の疲れを癒してくれるぞ。
小鳥を飼っております。チチチッと鳴く姿が愛おしくて。
After making an officer, you can choose from several movesets. You got generic movesets, but plenty of unique. Pick whatever you want to use for this officer, and unlike DW80, you cannot use a secondary weapon. What a downgrade. So get used to using the same exact moveset over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, that won't get old.
I'm sensing a little sarcasm.
After that, you pick your stat orientation. This determines your default stats and gives you 2 unique directives, I think they're called, or something like that. Anyways, let's cover the combat.
天下への道筋は見えている。始めるぞ。
Samurai Warriors 4 had pretty fast-paced combat. In fact, Empires keeps that momentum, which isn't always the case, as Empires tended to be smaller and slower. For example, in Dynasty Warriors 4 and 5 Empires, there's less troops and officers in every battle. So you wouldn't get tons of KOs unless you worked harder and fought a larger army. But here, the amount of soldiers is kind of on par with the base game, but also not really. That's always a thing with Empires, is there's less officers and soldiers on every battlefield. It always irked me as a bad design decision. It's not like the games can't handle a ton of things on screen. The combat is fast, but also smooth and fluid. Using the dash attack with triangle, slaughtering everything in front of me, never gets old as I feel like a badass. That's the appeal of the Warriors games. Power fantasy. With Empires, it's power fantasy with your own characters. So get out there and slaughter foes with Moist Critical, Some Ordinary Gamers, Asmongold, Emeru, Brutal Moose, Scott the Waz, Jontron, Maximilian Dude, and more. Every moveset feels good to play with. This used to not be the case, as certain characters were a chore and a total bore, like Akuni, Oichi, any tank guys like Honda Civic and Keiji. I hated using these guys, but now everything is more fluid and worth using. Musou is so much better here than in previous Samurai Warriors games, though because it's a PlayStation 3 game, there's not that many troops on screen. Plus, if you, other officers, and your troops are around, they eat up the screen space, not allowing enemies to appear. This makes taking over bases together less desirable, as it means less enemies to fight, and base taking takes longer in turn. But Musou attacks are fun, though I do wish they were faster. I don't care for the camera zoom in with the officers talking before their final attack. It just drags things on, and I don't use Musou that often because of it. While the bow is still missing, thank God, horses are still around, and we can even call them, thank God. But movement in combat is still not that enjoyable. But in comparison to Samurai Warriors 3, it's so much better. You're not as enjoyable as Dynasty Warriors 8. This game came out after DW8E and doesn't yet feature the fluidity of better horse combat, which sucks.
さっきの戦、お前と競い合えてよかったぜ。で、思ったんだ。お前には負けらんないってな。
拙者も同様に思っておった。次はどうなるかわからぬが、負け抜きでいくぞ。
If you build relationships with officers, let alone set your custom officer to have a parent during officer edit, you can switch to that friend/family member during combat. Even if you're not friends with everyone, if one of your officers is friends with several others during battle, you can switch to them as well. This means as long as your army consists of those with bonds, you can freely switch during battles. This helps keep the game from getting boring during long plays. I mean, this playthrough for this review did take roughly 6 hours, basically in the end. Plus, I did start out with a ton of territories already, and officers, so imagine just how long it will take you during different playthroughs. It adds up, and being able to swap to other characters during battles really helps keep things from getting stale. Just using different movesets with everyone, seeing their Musou attacks and hearing a different voice is a nice addition that I wish Dynasty Warriors incorporated. Oh well, let's jump into Empire mode and explain its many features. Oh, did you think we were even close to being done? Nah, my reviews are getting larger and larger. Sorry, not sorry.
この手で乱世を制し、天下を統一してみせよう。
There's only 2 game modes in SW4E. These are literally the same thing. They just took Empire mode and broke it off into 2 to make it look like there's more value than there really is.
Great deal.
Conquest mode is just a scenario separated. Genesis mode is the gathering of heroes from Dynasty Warriors Empire's games. So we'll just cover Genesis mode, given it's just the same thing, except we have more control over things like setting difficulty, data import, officer deaths, custom officers appearing, and if you want to be more historically accurate. Yeah, this option got Kotaku triggered back in the day. Can you guess why?
Based.
After that, we can set who owns what territory and whether or not they're a part of the same clan, giving more power to certain ones. After this, we begin the game as whoever we want to play as. Sadly though, unlike previous Empire games for Dynasty Warriors, you cannot be anything but a ruler. So they removed vagabonds and being an officer for an AI ruler. So yeah, get used to hearing me bitch about all the downgrades this game has to offer. Once you begin, you need to select a strategist, then pick up to 2 officers for the other sections of your clan's affairs, like personnel, military, and development, with more unlocking as you upgrade your castle and pick certain options to unlock new rooms and bonuses. More on that later. Every time you start or when you conquer a territory, your strategist will ask you to pick a territory to target. This does nothing but give you a determined territory to attack. Your army will not go after it, unlike in DW80 or DW70. So no raids or anything. Yeah, they removed raids in this game. Yet another feature from older games missing. Shocker.
年貢を測る5升マスを作っていた。普通より少し小さいのは民に回す米を増やすためだ。
熱い殿様だ。いえ、素晴らしいお考えだと思います。
While Dynasty Warriors has policies, Samurai Warriors has directives. And they are what you'd expect if you ever played any Empire games before. You can do things like increase relations with officers, get new formations, increase commerce and rice yield, form alliances, and more. Though sadly, one thing I always hated about Empire's games is there's only ever one ending. You must kill and conquer all territories and clans/kingdoms.
「誠にありがたい。そなたらと戦わずに済むだけでだいぶ楽になる。他の国のやつらビビってんぜきっと。だって俺らが組んじまうんだもんな。
では同盟の証としてそれぞれに我が家に伝わる武装品を献上しよう。
So forming alliances and trade always felt pointless and stupid to me. There should have been more options like a trade ending, an alliance ending, where you can have a more peaceful way to win the games. Just a suggestion, but whatever.
「退屈で仕方ないわ。何か面白いことやってちょうだい。」
共感できるな。採用だ。目安箱を設置した甲斐があった。
You can customize your castle by choosing the banner, which comes with stat bonuses like rice yield, troop strength, commerce, strategy, and more. So even if you like a certain banner, You will be punished if you choose one you like for cosmetic reasons only, as you will get a bonus or none at all depending on which one you chose. I hate this idea. A cosmetic should never act this way. Also, you can change the wallpaper of your castle, which thankfully doesn't do anything other than look different. Thank God.
築き上げましたね。大勢力。ここまでは俺の読み通り。では、ここからは？
ここまで来れば覆されることもあるまい。着実に目標達成を目指す。
After you gain enough fame and have the gold, you can upgrade your castle, which gives you several options in a branching tree. Depending on which you select will limit your future upgrades, so pick wisely, as you cannot change things once chosen.
「じゃあ組に分かれて区画の不審を担当してよ。一番遅かった組は切っちゃってもいい？」
いにしえ木牛流馬を作った諸葛孔明の潜みに倣って今孔明は作業用の木人を大量に作っちゃおうかな。
These will range from access to the shop to upgrade weapons, buy horses, and buy/sell supplies, to unlocking a tea room for bonding officers and more. I chose poorly and got the shop and tea room instead of the better options like a dojo.
城が広くなった分、人に感激が生まれた気がする。みんなその辺意識低くない？
でも大きくなった分隠れて昼寝しやすくなったよ。これってとってもいいことじゃない？
You can build relationships over time. Sadly though, it's too difficult in this game to build relationships in comparison to other Empires games.
Explain yourself.
To build relationships, you need to continuously accept the proposals for directives on top of fight several battles together, several dozen battles, mind you, then finally use up a directive turn on the fraternize action. It adds up and becomes tiresome. I just wanted to get some friends, get married, have a kid, a sworn ally, a rival, a nemesis, and a protege.
Is that all?
Yet, I never got any of that. Mostly my fellow officers did instead. I only got one friend, who was my strategist Hanbai.
お前のような家臣がいてこそ私の希望も生きる。これからもよろしく頼む。
そんなに褒められちゃまだまだ昼寝暮らしは遠そうですね。ま、やってみますか。
Instead, my other officers were bonding left and right.
お前か。もっと語り合いたいと思っていたんだ。
自分ごときに注目してくれていたとはありがたきことよ。
They were even making rivals and nemesises. Nemesi? Whatever. They were making rivalries and sworn enemies.
やはり見事よ。お主のことを好敵手と呼ばせてもらいたい。
ああ、これからもこの関係の厚さ 壊したくないよな。俺も負けないよう精進する。お前も頼むな。
Even after over 5 hours of a single playthrough, I never got a spouse. Even though I did interact and battle alongside several female officers, I was hoping to either get No, Akuni, Ina, or a custom female officer, but never did. Also, there's no same-sex marriage in this game, so no femboy harem.
Why? Why?
Every battle costs a lot of gold and supplies, depending on how many officers you bring with you and if there's any reinforcements set up. Your supplies are used for time. If you bring a lot with you, you'll get more time to win the battle. But if you don't bring a lot, this will make battles a bum rush for the main camp situation. Otherwise, you're in for a treat of losing any battle once the timer reaches 0. Even if you're winning, it doesn't matter. The timer says you lose.
You get nothing! You lose!
If you bring more troops than the enemy, before every battle there's a gauge that fills up to showcase soldier count. If yours is higher than the enemy's, you get a bonus in weakening the enemy bases. This makes the battles easier for you. But if the enemy has more troops, the effect backfires onto your bases.
Oh, my favorite!
You also have formations, a unique system for Samurai Warriors Empires games. These will determine a stat bonus for your army, like making everyone move faster, have higher attack, defense, and regeneration of their health over time. They only last for a set amount of time, and if the enemy has a formation that gives them the advantage, you lose your bonus. There's also battlefield tactics to give yourself more advantages. Much like in Dynasty Warriors Empires games, this gives you things like cavalry units, sumo, sages, ninjas, archer volleys, cannon volleys, and more. So even if the enemy has the advantage in troop count, you can turn the tides of war with ninja ambushes attacking their bases all over the battlefield, creating distress. Unlike Dynasty Warriors Empires games, you can set where each officer is placed before battle. Every square on the map can host a single officer, so place people where you want them to begin. This doesn't really affect things, but is a nice thing to have, much like issuing individual commands. So if a base is in danger, especially your main camp, you could tell your people to go to it. So if Charlie, for example, is close by, issue a command for him to protect the main camp from falling, otherwise you lose the battle. You can also tell officers to attack or defend bases, and even follow certain officers, including yourself. Sadly, unlike other Empires games, you cannot select much in the way of music, as it's mostly only Samurai Warriors 4 and Empires tracks. There's no Spear of Sanada, 4-2, Samurai Warriors 1, 2, or 3 music available. So the selection is very limited with repeated tracks playing in most battles. This does get old after a while, and there's zero excuses for not having more options.
Preach it, honey.
Invasion battles are all about taking over the enemy main camp or taking out their commander if their ruler appears. Meanwhile, defensive battles has you doing the same or waiting out the timer, all while protecting your main camp in all types of battles. There's no more raids or special missions. You can't slay troublesome wolves, protect a merchant from bandits, or assassinate an officer during a stealth mission at night. Those types of things were only in DW70 and DW80.
Wow, so sad.
Really sad.
After every battle, everyone participating gains experience. That's all there is to it in this game. You don't get items or anything, as Samurai Warriors 4 Empires decided to remove items to increase stats or to give you elemental attacks. After battles, you can hire those you've captured, though they will not always accept, and you can choose to let officers go or execute them. I'm not a monster, so those I didn't want or wouldn't accept were set free. This is a good way to get more officers, but there's a hard limit of 100 in this game, so be careful as you hire more and more. It will become costly and eventually eat up space.
Wow, ここまで国広げちゃうなんておみそれしました。
ここで満足してはそれまでだ。さらなる高みを目指していくぞ。
Your goal is to conquer every territory of the land. You cannot form alliances and lead to a peaceful ending. No, you must kill all factions off and wipe them off of the history books. This does add up, as you need to position your officers next to a territory to invade them. Only officers connected to that territory can participate in battle. This is an issue I have with several Empires games, having to micromanage where every single officer is just to use certain ones in battle. This shouldn't be a thing, and thankfully some Empire games doesn't feature this. But this game does, and I absolutely hate it. So if you want to battle with certain officers, building their bonds and using one with more troops and higher stats, then get ready to micromanage each individual territory for each individual invasion. Also, if there's not many or any officers in a territory that gets attacked, you're in for hell. This is just a stupid and inexcusable system featured in older Empires games like DW4E, DW5E, and sadly DW9E.
"最後の命だ。油断するな。そして勝て。
これで戦も最後か。感慨深いものよ。
While I have a lot of negative things to say about Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, and I did in my review of it back in February, it did come with the best edit mode, so many options for outfit pieces and facial hairs, plus it introduced troop edit, where we can make our own soldiers to use, horse edit to give our kingdom their own mounts, which even the cavalry units would use, banner edit to give ourselves a unique flag, then finally a scenario edit to make our own scenarios instead of playing the same thing over and over again. We could make so much, and it was never brought back to date in any newer Empires games.
Wow, so many options.
This game doesn't even let you make your own clans/kingdoms. We cannot make anything besides a few dozen officers with a tiny amount of outfits and accessories. This will lead to everyone eventually looking the same at some point. Even with DLC, we don't have any real options.
It's awful.
Usually every Empires game we had every single game soundtrack available to use in battle and during other moments in game. Sadly, we don't have that option in Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. All the music is just from SW4 and nothing else. This means you will not have access to SW1, 2, or 3 in their expansions. This sucks because this limits how many tracks you will have to listen to in game, especially during battles, as now you'll hear the same song over and over and over again. This made battles feel more repetitive, yet the music itself is really good, just lacking in quantity department. I never really had any performance issues outside of some very large battles. Then I saw some slowdown like the classic PlayStation 2 games. Otherwise, I never had long load times, stuttering, and crashes, but graphically the game was clearly downgraded to work on this ancient console. And yes, the PlayStation 3 is ancient, folks. The thing is 18 years old now. So there's a lot of pop-in, pixelation, and flickering of various graphics. You can see this in cutscenes, especially with water and whatnot. The edges of trees and bamboo are not exactly smooth.
泣かぬなら仕方がないなホトトギス。潔く諦めよう。
泣かぬならじっと見つめるホトトギス。期待込めてじっと見つめてやるんだ。
It does suck there's no English dub, though I hated Samurai Warriors 3's dub. At least giving us an option for English and Japanese would have been a nice addition. No English will scare off potential players because many don't want to read subtitles. There are those who just want to hear their language through these characters so they can pay attention to the action on screen and not just look at text all day.
Can I get an amen?
While Dynasty Warriors Empires was lacking in cutscenes and most of them just sucked, this game decided to focus on quantity over quality, unlike Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires. The cutscenes, if you can even call them that, are just lazy visual novel moments that mostly have text to describe everything and robotic stiff animations for the characters. They barely move and the scenes feel really soulless. I like the idea of including so many scenes, but it's quantity over quality. I'll give you a short comparison of Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires versus Samurai Warriors 4 Empires cutscenes, just so you can understand the quality difference.
よう戻ってきたな。こっちだ。大した活躍だったな。おかげで俺も楽できたぜ。あんたの戦は見ていて面白いしな。次も期待してるぜ。
俺はこの状況を打開できるのか。
自分もできる限りの力を尽くそう。だから共に前を向こう。
いやー、待った待った。退屈で死にそうだったぜ。
だが近くこの大陸の勢力図は大きく動くことになろう。
乱世平定の秘策、すでに我が胸中にあり、今こそ飛躍の時だ。
うわあ、ここまで国広げちゃうなんておみそれしました。
ここで満足してはそれまでだ。さらなる高みを目指していくぞ。
茶は気持ちを入れて立てるのか。よし、入った。さあどうぞ。
戦いの日々に安らぎをくれたことを感謝する。いい手前だった。
There's not much else to talk about. At least the game does feature 2-player local play, so before battle, second player can press start and join in. We've covered everything else like music, lack of dub, and more. Well, this video is already long enough. Let's just get this video over with, shall we?
It's been 84 years.
At the end of the day, Samurai Warriors 4 Empires is just an average game. It does have a lot of problems, but it's playable and offers some decent fun. I just wish a few issues would have been addressed in a patch, or for things to be less of a hassle. I did have fun, most of the time.
Shocked. We're all shocked.
I did prefer this game to the likes of Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires and 4 Empires, but when compared to Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8 Empires, this game falls short in terms of meaningful moments, music options, edit modes, and more.
Oh, really?
Samurai Warriors 4 Empires is a game well worth playing, just be ready for a few hiccups in performance and lacking in ways to play. Eventually I'll tackle Dynasty Warriors 7, Empires, and Samurai Warriors 4 DX. Till then, anyways, that's it for this video. See you all later.
Hinomoto がついに我らの手で一つに。
俺の熱い舞見ていてください。
日の本一の前に日の本一の禅の数々、夢の中にいるようだ。
まったくいい顔してる。全てを成し遂げた英雄の顔だ。本当についてきてよかった。
太平の世導いたり。